Gentlemen, welcome back to the Tiege Hanley Starting a Business, Building a Brand vlog number 5. It's great to see you. It has been an action-packed week. Okay, so to catch up to speed, things are moving along. The chemist is doing his thing, product-wise. So that's kind of taken care of, under control. The one thing that Kelly, Rob, and I have not done yet is get all of the legal paperwork taken care of. And this is one of the things that with a business, when you start a business, the legal paperwork and making sure that the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, and you've thought through some uncomfortable scenarios, this always has to take place. If you don't, you're setting yourself up for a world of hurt later on down the road. So you've got to decide what type of entity you're going to be. You also need to decide what happens in certain scenarios and situations. And when I talk about being uncomfortable, some of these things are tough to talk about. Like, you never want to go into a business, kind of like a prenuptial agreement with a marriage. It's sort of like that. If you think of it that way, it kind of makes a little bit more sense. But in the event something happens, what happens? Because if you don't have that basically spelled out and a solid direction, you could potentially ruin your company if something happens or somebody wants out. And so what we did the other day is we had a big legal meeting. I was supposed to fly out to Chicago to go meet Kelly and Rob at the attorney's office, but I wasn't able to get away. And so what we did was we utilized Skype. Okay, so picture it. There I am on Skype, they connect to me, and they set the computer at one of the heads of the table. At the other end is our attorney, and on either side are Rob and Kelly. So it's kind of like I was there, and it was really sort of the first like Skype conference I've ever been in that situation, but it was a 2-hour long consultation and sort of planning session with the attorney, trying to figure out all those things that we talked about. What type of entity we're setting up? What do the different scenarios look like if X happens or this happens or this happens? Another thing that you've got to figure out is, how are you going to value the company? A lot of times I think people think, oh, there's some magical formula for figuring out the value of a company. And there are a ton of different formulas. Now, if you ever watch Shark Tank, and by the way, this is an interesting side note, I think that Shark Tank as a show, if you're an entrepreneur and you're not watching Shark Tank, you're absolutely missing out on A, great television, and B, just a lot of learning that can be done from a TV show, from a reality TV show. Because what they do on Shark Tank is they really vet and ask some hard questions and analyze within a span of, for television's sake, 5 or 10 minutes. You get it's amazing to me. And Shark Tank, like I said, is one of my favorite shows. Not only was I on Shark Tank, and I didn't get a deal, but it's just a great show I love watching even to this day, because you can learn so much about business and about entrepreneurship. Some of the smartest people I've ever met were out there filming Shark Tank, the other contestants, when I was on season 4. But the way that they value a company is absolutely not the right way. So you go in there and say, I'm asking for $100,000 and I'm going to give you 10%. 10%, multiply it out, and that means that you're saying that your company is worth $1 million. There's no projections, there's no accounts receivable, that's just a flat, straight out, what you're asking, this is what you're valuing the company for. And I don't necessarily think that that's 100% the right way. But one of the things that we have to decide as a team is how we're going to set that value. And then what we're going to do is every 6 months, 8 months, whatever it is, we've got to come back and reassess and revalue the company. And you're thinking to yourself, well, why do you need to do that? It doesn't matter unless you're planning on selling. Check this out. In the agreement, there needs to be an exit, basically, clause for myself, for Rob, for Kelly, for the chemist. Because if I say, hey, I don't want to be here anymore, I want you to buy me out for $10 million. Where's that $10 million come from? You need to have basically a way of calculating what the equity, each person's equity, is worth at that specific time. Is that making sense? The other thing we needed to talk about, and this, oh, by the way, this video is about legal. The other thing that we needed to talk about is vesting. And when you say you're vested, what does that mean? All right, so check this out. I'm going to try and explain this as easy as possible, which probably won't be very easy. Say you come into a business or a partnership or whatever. You are given what is called equity, all right, or you earn equity. Say that equity is 50%. No, for easy math, let's say it's 30%. And they say that that 30% vests over a 3-year period. Okay, so what does that mean? When you start the business, if you leave tomorrow, you don't get that 30% equity. All right, it needs to vest. And the way that that generally happens is each year a percentage, or say a third, if it was vesting over 3 years and you were fully vested, a third would be vested each year. All right, so after a year, if you've been in, everything's good, you're cool, nobody's gotten out, you get 10%. You're 10% vested. Then another year, another 10%. Now you're 20%. Third and final year, 30%. Boom, you're fully vested. Everything is good. Everything is aces. Does that make sense? Well, we needed to figure out what the vesting process looks like and how long that is. It keeps people engaged, because if you automatically just, you start a business, you give somebody equity, and then all of a sudden that vests immediately, what happens if they don't do their job and they're stuck with 30% of your business and you got to buy the fool out who didn't do anything? Exactly. That would not be a good situation. Thus the reason we needed to talk about equity and vesting. So the legal meeting was definitely not the most fun I've ever had, but it left us with a lot of questions. And so what we did after the meeting, we sort of put it on pause, and we came back together actually I think it was like 2 days later. We came back and we sat down and we talked over the specific points, because really we were in agreement for the majority of the points, but there were like 3 things that we really needed to discuss and decide collectively together. And so we sat down, we hammered it out, we're all on the same page, which, thumbs up, means that everything is still full steam ahead. And it's exciting. Like I said, I can't tell you how amazing it is to be with people or to partner with people that get it, that are hard workers, that do what they say they're going to do, and that have, from what I can tell right now, integrity and business ethics. It's very refreshing. You got to be protected, and you got to protect yourself at the beginning before you get a year down the road, 2 years down the road, $3 million in the bank. Because once cash starts flowing, that a lot of times has the ability, if you're not in agreement and aligned, to change dynamics and partnerships. And it's definitely something that can be avoided to some degree if you take care of the process and the legal things that you need to take care of and spell things out ahead of time. So gentlemen, I think I'm going to leave it there. A lot to absorb, a lot of legal jargon, and I don't know, hopefully it helped. It definitely was sort of a bit mind-numbing at some points, but it's a necessary evil. Gentlemen, take care of the legal things that you need to now so that you have smooth sailing-ish and you just don't run into trouble in the future, because an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And I forgot something. Gentlemen, if you guys have not gone over to Tiege.com, Tiege.com, and signed up for the newsletter, you need to make sure that you go after this video is over, go and do it. We're going to be doing product giveaways. We're going to be doing beta testing as we get closer to launch, but we're also going to be sending out questionnaires, because we need you to make Tiege Hanley the best, absolute best skincare company possible on the market, period. And I'm super excited, if you can't tell. Make sure to go over and do that, because you're going to have an inside track. There's going to be additional benefit for being on the list. One more thing. I keep thinking of things I want to tell you. Guys, down in the comments section, if you've got questions, if it's business related, skincare related, whatever it is, please, down below, let me know if you've got a question, and I'll do my best to answer. Maybe at the end of each of these vlogs, I will answer like 1 or 2 or 3 viewer questions. Or maybe a vlog will just be about questions. You never know. The great thing about this vlog and this format is that it's totally loose. There is no set direction. We're just kind of rolling with it. So gentlemen, if you've got business questions or questions in general, please list it down in the description. And not in the description, that's my job. In the comments, that's your job, and I'll handle it next time.